So, let's talk about the absolute state of Weatherfield right now because things are getting seriously intense. You've probably been watching the Theo Silverton murder investigation unfold and thinking the same thing I am. Was Gary Windass really just a convenient target for a lazy police force? Or is there something much darker hiding behind that builder's yard gate? It's a wild situation, isn't it? When the sirens finally fade and the focus shifts away from the street's most notorious hothead, we're left with a question that should haunt every single one of us. Who actually benefits when a prime suspect is ruled out? Stick with me here, because while the police might be deleting Gary's name from their whiteboard, a devastating new lead is about to turn a fan-favorite character into a potential killer. This isn't just a little shift in the investigation. It's a complete collapse of everything we thought we knew about the Theo Silverton case. Weatherfield is basically a pressure cooker at the moment, and Theo's murder is the flame that just won't go out. For weeks, this whole thing has felt like a personal vendetta led by Detective Kit Green. He seemed totally convinced that Gary Windass was the only man with the temper and the motive to finish Theo off. And let's be real, Gary has always operated in that gray area between being a local hero and a total dangerous liability. That makes him the perfect scapegoat for a detective who just wants a quick win to look good at the station. But why Gary? It's pretty simple when you think about it. His history of violence isn't exactly a secret. It's basically his resume. The police didn't target him because the evidence was ironclad. They targeted him because Gary fits the profile of a Weatherfield murderer perfectly. He's reactive, he's protective, and he definitely has the physical strength to do something like this. But here's the thing. The sudden collapse of the case against him reveals a massive flaw in Kit Green's ego. By focusing so intensely on the obvious choice, the police have accidentally given the real killer weeks of breathing room to cover their tracks. Let's look at why Gary was ruled out and what it tells us about the police force in this town. The tech team failed to retrieve deleted CCTV from the builder's yard computer, and that was the final nail in the coffin for the Gary is guilty theory. But did Gary actually get off because he was proven innocent? No, he got off because the police were incompetent. That creates such a fascinating power dynamic. Gary is technically free, but he's still under this massive cloud of suspicion that is probably going to rot his relationships from the inside out. Don't you think that's almost worse than being in a cell? Internally, Gary has to be feeling a toxic mix of relief and simmering rage. Imagine being hunted for a crime you might not have even done, only to be saved by a technicality rather than the truth. He's a man who values his reputation as a protector, and having that stripped away by Kit Green's accusations has likely left him feeling more isolated than ever before. I personally see Gary's ruling out as a total narrative distraction. The writers are using Gary as a human shield for the real culprit. By making us focus on Gary's temper and his suspicious deleted footage, they've successfully moved our eyes away from the quiet characters who actually have way more to lose. In my opinion, Kit Green is a terrible detective, but he's a great character to watch. He's so blinded by his desire to be the hero who takes down the local hardman that he's ignored the subtle clues right under his nose. I actually disagree with Gary being ruled out so quickly. Deleted CCTV is a massive red flag, and the fact that they just gave up suggests there's a deeper level of police apathy at play. Psychologically, Gary suffers from what I'd call a protector complex. He feels this pathological need to solve problems with his fists to keep Maria and his family safe. His behavior at the builder's yard, the sweating, the defensiveness, isn't necessarily guilt for murder. It's the anxiety of a man who knows his past will always be used as a weapon against him. But just as Gary breathes a sigh of relief, the investigation takes a sharp, jagged turn towards someone no one ever expected, Summer Spellman. This is the devastating twist that changes the entire temperature of the show. A journal discovery and a single photograph from Lisa and Carla's wedding have suddenly placed Weatherfield's most studious resident at the top of the suspect list. Now, why Summer? Because she's the perfect suspect for a psychological thriller. She's the one everyone overlooks because she's too good. But then George finds her journal, and it's not just a teenage diary anymore. She literally wrote about wanting to pull a gun to Theo's head and make him pay. In the eyes of the law, that's not just venting, that's a declaration of intent. Summer is currently drowning in a sea of betrayal, and you can see it on her face. She's horrified that her own family members, like George and Christina, were the ones to find the journal and turn on her. She feels the crushing weight of being the good girl who finally snapped, and that's a terrifying emotional space to inhabit. We really need to reframe Summer's actions here. This isn't a sudden descent into being a villain. It's a desperate response to a lifetime of being the perfect child. That journal entry represents the shadow self that she's been repressing for years. Theo might have just been the catalyst that finally caused her carefully constructed moral compass to shatter. Honestly, I think the police are being incredibly opportunistic by targeting Summer now. Using a brooch found at a crime scene and matching it to a wedding photo is basic police work, but it feels like they are grasping at straws because they failed so hard with Gary. However, I love this twist. It forces us to look at Summer as a complex human being rather than just a two-dimensional student. This is a classic case of repressed rage. Summer has spent her entire life managing health crises, exams, and her father's drama. Psychologically, Theo Silverton represented a threat to the stability she craves. When her internal pressure became too much, that journal entry became her only outlet, or maybe even her blueprint. And the tension doesn't stop with the journal. The real smoking gun is that brooch. When Kit Green identifies the brooch from the murder scene on Summer's dress in the wedding photos, the theory becomes a physical reality. Physical evidence is much harder to explain away than a deleted video file. This brooch links Summer directly to the location of the struggle. It's no longer about her feelings toward Theo. It's about her presence in the room where he died. When Summer rushes to burn her journal, she's not acting like a cold-blooded killer. She's acting like a terrified child. The panic she feels isn't necessarily the guilt of doing the deed, but the fear of how people will see her. She knows that once people see those words, the Summer they know is dead, whether she killed Theo or not. I think this brooch might be the big clue of the investigation, similar to how other cases have been pieced together through flashbacks. It's the anchor that will eventually pull us into the truth of what really happened that night. I'm calling it now. Summer is a red herring, just like Gary was. This show loves to put the most vulnerable characters through the ringer before revealing a much more cynical killer. While the evidence looks devastating, it's almost too neat, don't you think? Since when does a master manipulator like Theo get taken down by someone who leaves their jewelry at the scene? The act of burning the journal is a dissociative response. Summer is trying to erase the part of herself she doesn't recognize. By destroying the evidence, she's psychologically trying to revert back to the safe version of herself, completely unaware that the police have already captured her shadow self in a photograph. But wait, we can't forget about the Danielle Silverton factor. While everyone is looking at Summer, we cannot ignore the estranged family angle. Danielle, Theo's ex-wife, has been lurking in the shadows this whole time. She's footing the bill for funeral flowers while people are accusing her of hunting for a hefty inheritance. You've got to follow the money in these things. In any murder investigation, financial gain is a top-tier motive. Tracy Barlow, who is always a cynic, is the one to voice what we're all thinking. Is Danielle paying for flowers with the blood money she expects to inherit? Danielle's public confrontation with Todd Grimshaw at the funeral is such a fascinating display of emotional projection. By loudly accusing Todd of killing Theo for life insurance, she might be trying to deflect the very same suspicion away from herself. It's a desperate, high-stakes emotional gamble. Danielle is the classic Noir suspect. She's the woman with the history, the motive, and the proximity. If we look at the Theo case through the lens of a property or insurance dispute, she becomes a much more logical killer than a student with a brooch. I absolutely believe Danielle is more involved than she's letting on. The fact that Ryan Connor recognizes her from the night of the murder is the biggest clue we've had so far. Ryan has no reason to lie, and his suspicion is the first time the investigation has felt grounded in actual eyewitness testimony rather than just circumstantial jewelry. Danielle's behavior is clearly driven by financial desperation and resentment. Killing an ex-husband isn't just about the money. It's about reclaiming power from someone who likely controlled her for years. Her aggression toward Todd is a defense mechanism. The best defense is a good offense. And then there's the big flashback twist we've been hearing about. We know a flashback episode is coming, and it promises to reveal a dark secret and a witness who lied to the police. This is where the Gary twist and the Summer twist will finally collide. Flashbacks in soaps aren't just about showing the murder, they are about showing the witnesses. The devastating twist might not even be who killed Theo, but who saw it happen and stayed silent. If Gary saw Summer, or if Summer saw Danielle, that complex web of guilt and fear mentioned in the spoilers makes perfect sense. The emotional insight here is that the witness who lied probably did it out of love, not malice. This points right toward the Platt, Grimshaw, and Spellman families. The emotional toll of protecting a killer is often worse than the crime itself, and we're starting to see those cracks in characters like George and Todd. The flashback is the show's way of telling us that the truth we see in the present day is a curated lie. Every character we've discussed is currently performing a version of themselves for the police. The flashback will strip that performance away. I think the witness who lies is Todd Grimshaw. He has the most complicated relationship with Theo, and his refusal to attend the funeral is a massive psychological red flag. He's grieving, yes, but he's also acting like a man who can't bear to look at the consequences of his own actions, or maybe someone else's. This is group dynamics at its most toxic. When a community like this is hit with a murder, the instinct isn't to find justice, it's to protect the tribe. The lie isn't just a single act, it's a collective agreement to keep things the same, even if it means letting a killer walk free. Just to make things more complicated, we have the arrival of Idris Nasir. He's already setting pulses racing and causing chaos, but in a whodunit, a new character is rarely just a love interest. Why introduce Idris now? Historically, new characters in the middle of a murder plot serve one of two purposes. They are a fresh suspect with a hidden link to the victim, or they are the unbiased observer who spots the clue the locals missed. His instant connection with Leanne Battersby is a huge distraction from whatever his real agenda might be. Leanne's fiery romance with Idris feels like a woman trying to escape the darkness of the Institute and the Theo investigation. She's emotionally vulnerable, which makes her the perfect mark for someone who might be hiding a darker secret. Idris is the wild card here. While the police are looking at brooches and journals, Idris is moving freely through the community, bonding with key players. He represents the outside world crashing into Weatherfield's insular drama. I'm suspicious of anyone who arrives on the cobbles during a murder inquiry. Idris's link to the Nasir family might be genuine, but his timing is impeccable. Is he really here for a new romance, or is he here to finish something Theo started? He's using charm as a cloak. By being the exciting newcomer, he bypasses the natural suspicion the neighbors have for one another right now. It's a classic tactic, get people to like you, and they'll never think to look in your suitcase, SO. Where does this leave us? Gary is out, Summer is in, and Danielle is being questioned. Here is how I see this playing out. The police will arrest Summer Spellman based on the brooch and the journal. It will look like an open and shut case of a good girl gone bad. However, the flashback episode will reveal that while Summer might have wanted to kill Theo, she didn't actually get the chance. The real killer is likely someone protecting Summer. Think about it. The journal entry shows she had the intent, but the devastating twist will be that someone else finished the job to save her from becoming a murderer. This would explain the web of guilt and why a witness is lying. My money is on a family member, potentially Todd or even a returning character, who saw Summer in trouble and stepped in with lethal force. The consequences are going to be massive. Even when Summer is cleared, she will never be the same. The fact that her darkest thoughts were made public will destroy her standing in the community. And Gary? He'll be back in the frame the second the Summer lead goes cold, because Kit Green's ego won't allow him to admit he was wrong about the builder. I want to know what you think about all this. Do you think Summer is actually capable of murder, or is that journal entry just the ventings of a frustrated teenager who had finally had enough? And what about Gary? He might be ruled out for now, but do you trust that deleted CCTV excuse? Or do you think Kit Green is being played by someone much smarter than him? This investigation is only getting started, and the cobbles are about to get a lot bloodier before the truth comes out. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the Theo Silvern murder mystery, make sure to show some love to the video. Subscribe and turn on those notifications so you don't miss our breakdown of the upcoming flashback special. because that is going to be a game changer. I'll be in the comment section discussing your theories, so let's get the debate started. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you on the next one. It's really wild to think about how much evidence is piling up against Summer, isn't it? I mean, a brooch found at the scene and a journal entry where she talks about pulling a gun on him. That's pretty heavy stuff for a character like her. But you have to wonder if the show is just setting her up to be the ultimate red herring. We've seen it before where the most obvious suspect ends up being innocent, and someone else is lurking in the shadows. And speaking of lurking, Danielle Silverton is looking more and more suspicious by the day. Paying for those funeral flowers and being accused of looking for an inheritance, it all adds up to a classic motive. But then you have Ryan Connor spotting her on the night of the murder. That's the kind of detail that usually leads to a major breakthrough in these kinds of stories. What about the new guy, Idris? His arrival seems so perfectly timed to distract everyone, especially Leanne. Is he just here for a bit of romance? Or is there something more to his story? He's already causing quite a stir, and his connection to the Nazir family gives him an in with the locals that a complete stranger wouldn't have. It's going to be interesting to see how he fits into the bigger picture. And don't forget about the flashback episode. That's usually when all the missing pieces of the puzzle start to fall into place. We're going to see who is actually there that night and who has been lying to the police. It's probably someone we'd least expect. The psychological aspect of this whole investigation is what really fascinates me. You got characters like Gary who have this internal need to be the protector, even if it gets them into trouble. Then you've got Summer, who has spent her whole life trying to be perfect, and now she's facing the ultimate fall from grace. The pressure on these characters is immense, and it's only a matter of time before someone else snaps. The way the community is reacting to the murder is also really telling. Instead of coming together to find the truth, everyone is starting to point fingers and protect their own. It's a classic case of a neighborhood being torn apart by a single act of violence, and I'm also keeping a close eye on Kit Green. He's so determined to prove he's a top-notch detective, but he seems to be making a lot of mistakes along the way. His obsession with Gary has blinded him to other possibilities, and now that the Gary lead has gone cold, he's jumping on the Summer evidence like it's a lifeline. It's the kind of tunnel vision that leads to wrongful arrests. We'll have to see if he can actually crack the case, or if he's just going to make things worse for everyone involved. The role of the journal is particularly interesting. It's such a personal thing, a place where people write down their darkest thoughts without ever intending for anyone else to see them. For Summer, it was a way to process her anger toward Theo, but now it's being used as evidence of her guilt. It raises some really tough questions about the line between thinking about a crime and actually committing one. Is having the intent enough to make someone a suspect, even if they didn't follow through? The law seems to think so, but as viewers, we know there's usually more to the story. And then there's the brooch. Such a small, seemingly insignificant item, yet it has the power to place Summer at the scene of the crime. It's a classic soap opera trope, the one piece of physical evidence that changes everything. But where did it come from? How did it end up at the scene? Was it planted, or did it really fall off during a struggle? These are the kinds of details that keep us guessing and make the investigation so compelling to watch. I'm also intrigued by the dynamic between George and Summer. He was the one who found the journal, and you could see how much it pained him to realize what she had written. It's a huge betrayal of trust, and it's going to be hard for their relationship to recover from this, even if she is proven innocent. The emotional fallout for the families involved is going to be just as significant as the legal consequences. As we look ahead to the next few weeks, it's clear that the Theo Silverton case is far from over. With new suspects emerging and old ones being ruled out, the mystery is only deepening. The arrival of the flashback episode is going to be a major turning point, and I can't wait to see what secrets it reveals. It's going to be a wild ride, and I'm here for every minute of it. Don't forget to share your own theories in the comments. Who do you think killed Theo? Was it Summer, Danielle, or someone we haven't even considered yet? There are so many possibilities, and I love hearing what you all think. It's always great to see how different people interpret the same clues, and if you're a longtime fan of the show, you know that nothing is ever as it seems in Weatherfield. There's always another twist waiting around the corner, another secret waiting to be uncovered. That's what makes it such a staple of British television. It's been around for decades, and it still knows